welcome back to Crafty Quilting Designs. I hope you're well and having a fantastic day. Okay, so this week's quilt is a peppermint Christmas quilt, and I shopped my stash for this one. So before we get into the video, I just wanted to say congratulations to Linda Goins. Linda actually made one of my tutorials, and she shared it with me. So I'm going to put a picture up while I'm talking about her quilt so you can actually see how beautiful it looks. Now this quilt is the table quilt that I made from the charm squares. So if you want to check it out, please do so. And leave Linda a comment, let her know how fantastic she did. Now guys, if you want to share your projects with me that you've made, if you have actually used one of my tutorials, by all means, please do. Just go to my Instagram and just chuck it in with a message. Okay, what I mean chuck it in, I mean attach it to a message, and of course I will get it, which will be absolutely beautiful. Now Linda, I just want to say I love your quilt. It is absolutely gorgeous. I love the colors you use as well. Very, very autumnish. It looks really beautiful. So guys, don't forget to do that. It's really, really happy for me when I see other people do my tutorials. You know how excited I get. When Linda contacted me, it's like, yay! So Linda, thank you so much for sharing that with me. It really made my afternoon. Okay, now this week's quilt, as I said, is a peppermint Christmas quilt, and I shopped my stash for this one. It's quite easy. It's a lap quilt, and you can get this done literally in a day. It doesn't take long at all. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. The pattern will be on my website, so please don't forget to check it out, and of course you'll have other patterns there as well for your taking. Okay, the patterns are not expensive at all. They're really, I think, about $8 or something like that, so they're not pricey at all. It's just really to help me with the cost of everything else. Okay, what else can I say about it? I think that's really it, to be honest, guys. I haven't got anything to say other than peace. Enjoy the tutorial. Love you lots. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright guys, so welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to make a peppermint or a candy cane Christmas quilt. Now we're going to be using the red and the white for this, and you can use jelly rolls or yardage. I have cut from yardage. I have had this red fabric here for quite some time now. I actually bought it for one of my Christmas fabric a couple of years ago or a year ago. I'm not sure exactly how long, but I absolutely hated it. It did not look the correct Christmas red that I actually wanted for the quilt. So anyway, I decided I've got to get rid of it and do something with it. So I thought the color is perfect for the candy cane block. So that is what I'm going to make today. So we're going to make a tube, and so I am going to be using the strips like so, and we're going to sew them together. Okay, so front sides together and sew all three together. Once you've done that, you need two in order to cut to get your blocks. So these are the blocks in which we are actually going to make, and we're going to lay them out in an appropriate way to help formulate the quilt. So this is my strip set here that's sewn into three, and so you need to place two together, front sides together, and you simply need to sew on each side to create that tube. So I'm going to go ahead now and get that done, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how to cut this without using a strip tube ruler. Alright, so let's get started on that. Okay guys, so now that I have completed the strip tube, as you can see, it's sewn together. Alright, so what we need to do now is to cut it down. Now we're going to use I'm just going to use my my ruler, my squaring up ruler. Okay, now what you need to do, every ruler such as this one have a long line running all the way through from point to point on the ruler. Okay, hopefully you can make it out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to put that line on the stitch line onto the tube set. So I'm putting it down. So don't go off the end. Don't take the ruler off the end, otherwise you're going to have a very awkward cut. We want it lined up literally on the stitch line. And this is very important because we want to make sure that our 1/4 inch seam is actually correct there. So I'm just going to line it up. First of all, make sure that your strip tube is lined up correctly, nice and straight. You're going to go back to your ruler, turn it, and I'm coming in a little bit because I don't want to trim the ends, okay? I want to have that gap there. All right, so line it up on the line, and I'm going to do my first cut. Now, it's going to be a bit of an awkward cut. If you're right-handed, you can probably start on the other side, but I'm just going to turn awkwardly and cut. Okay, once that is done, what you need to do now is simply move the ruler. So we're simply just going to turn the ruler so that the line now is on this end at the top up there. All right, so I'm going to put the line up there, making sure it's still straight. I'm going to put it right to the edge of the top there, and it's automatically going to line up. All right, so again, making sure that that straight line is on your stitch line. Once you've done that, you then need to cut. And I'm going to, if you've got a turning mat at this particular stage, I would definitely say get it out. So I'm just going to turn my mat to an angle, so it'll probably be easier for me to cut it, because I really don't want to have to slip. So, and cut. So that's one of the block there. All right. So once I open it up, that is what you will have. Now, I'm going to finish that later because I've already done quite a few. So you're going to go all the way until you've actually completed all of it. Now, this block needs to be squared up. Now, an important thing is that when you are going to iron the block, do not iron it like this way. Don't iron it towards or in line of the actual layout of the block. You need to iron like that. Okay, that's very important. If you iron like this, it will stretch the fabric. All right, so you need to make sure that you iron outwards. So you start in the middle, iron outwards, so that the block remains straight or it doesn't sort of move and get out of shape. All right, when you're ironing, just make sure that pleat is no longer there. We don't want it to stay folded. We want it to be lovely and flat. So to square it up, you're going to take your squaring up ruler and you're going to straighten up one side. So we're going to straighten up the left and the top there. Okay, so I'm going to center it. Now, what you can do to give yourself more accuracy is to use the stitch line in the middle here, because remember it was a strip tube, so we're going to have a strip line there. So use that seam line and line up that diagonal line in the middle of the ruler with that diagonal seam line on your block. So I'm going to, I have enough wiggle room around the whole square of the block to ensure that I am literally in the middle somewhat. And I'm simply, when I'm happy, I'm simply going to cut there and there. So my first cut, and then my second. Now make sure you hold nice and firm. All right. Now once you've done your first and second cut, you're going to hold this point here and literally turn it. So what you've done is now you have a straight cut on this side and a straight cut on this side. Line it up on the side and on the bottom. Okay, because we already know that these are accurate because you've just literally cut them. Now when you're done, once you've done that, you will then be able to see the extra that needs cutting off quite easily. So again, I can see my extras there and I can see my extras there. Again, holding it nice and firm and just simply cut. You definitely need a sharp blade for this because you'll be going through quite a lot of seams. Okay, and that is simply your block all beautiful and squared. It looks really nice actually. It plays nicely with the the white. Okay, so let's go to lay this out now, and there's lots of variations to get this block set up the way you want. Alright, so I have 28 blocks in total, all trimmed and ready to go. So my table is not that big enough. I don't think it'll hold 28 blocks, but I'll certainly lay out as much as I possibly can so you can get an idea. So I'm going to start in the middle, and it forms really a lot of different patterns, so you can play along as much as you like. So I'm just going to put the smaller ones in the middle. So I'm starting off with the smaller triangle in the middle, like so, and I am going to work with there and there, and then on this side do the same thing. So I'm laying out this area, that's get a little bit tricky, so just take your time when you do yours. Again, really it is up to you and which you go with. There is no right or wrong with this particular pattern, because it really is your creation. As I said, there's lots of layouts, so you can go with whatever makes you happy. So I'm going to continue on this side for no particular reason, only because I can just see what I've done there. So as you can see, there's an arrow coming towards the middle, and I'm going to continue the same on this end. It's a little bit tricky to pick up these blocks. And this end there. I'm going to do that there also. I'm going to do the other side as I'm on this side also. So remember, one different turn can give you a completely different look altogether. All right. So I'm going to turn that one there. So what I will do is literally give you an overhead shot so you can have a clear picture of how I've actually laid it out. Just take your time until you get it right. Oopsie daisy, I don't want that. I can actually see that I'm actually creating a different pattern here altogether, which is not really what I want. And go there with that. So this end is completely different, so I'm going to swap this around like so. And like so. Nope, you need to go in the middle there. Right, so that is one. I need to put 2 blocks in a corner up there. That is one way of laying it all out, which is pretty okay. Hopefully you can see that. It looks like a maze, and that is what this sort of pattern gives you. So you can twist and turn as much as you want. If I turn this round, you will get a different pattern in the middle there also, and the whole block layout will change yet again just from moving the 4. Okay, and you can see that it looks like a maze. That's what my brain sort of recognizes it as a maze, which is really nice. Okay, so there's lots of variations you can work with. So if I put it this way, it again changes in the corner. So So lots and lots of variations with the blocks. And it's going to keep turning them. And again, I am not doing anything, no trickery. I'm just moving the blocks around. You can do that also. I'm just using different angles. So I started using this part, and now I'm using this smaller triangle to form the block. So again, I'm going to turn this one. I'm going to put 2 blocks in the corner there, and that way, and that way. So far you can see the diamonds appearing, whereas before we had a zigzag or a maze effect. Now you're getting the diamond shape. So guys, it really is up to you and what you create with this. You can just play around with it, and you don't have to make it into a Christmas fabric. Sorry, a Christmas quilt. You can use any other that you want, to be honest, any other fabric. This looks really good. I like this one actually. This looks absolutely beautiful. Love this. I may go with this one. Now, what I also wanted to point out is that I only made 28 blocks. To make this quilt bigger, you can make more blocks. As it is, if I leave it as it is, so I've laid it out as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the top, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I make another 2 blocks, I will have 30 blocks to make up my quilt. If I lay it out as 1, 2, 3, 4 down, 4 across at the top, and 7 down, then you will have your 28, if my maths is correct. Okay, but it's entirely down to you. I think I will go with the 30 blocks. I think I will make the extra 2 in the corner over there. Let me move the camera so you can see what I'm referring to when I say I am short 2 blocks. So just right in the corner over there, you can see where I am missing 2 blocks. All right, so it looks pretty good. Happy with that, definitely. So I'm going to, and again, if I were to turn it, I can just get random shapes. If I turn it this way, and one thing I love about it is the fact, because the red is so dominant, you can literally get a different pattern every time, because that red just simply takes over, and it looks brilliant already. You can see that rectangular shape there and that rectangular shape there, so you can play around. The trick about this quilt is that it will make it look as though you were piecing forever when really you haven't. All right, so there's lots of movement here for the eyes, and to really have fun with it. So if I put that one there, and all I'm doing is just moving 1 block just to get that rectangular look. That's all I'm doing. So very much trickery, very, very much. Just looks, and again, I do like this one. I do like the fact that you can still have your diamond in the middle there for this one, but on each of the corners, you can get that rectangular shape. I'm going to do that one in the corner down here. I'll do this one over here. So literally all I'm doing is just turning this one. I'm loving this one also. Looks pretty cool. So, okay guys, so to turn it into a quilt as you go, what I have done is I didn't cut, but I sewed 3 rows together. All right, so this is row 1, row 2, row 3. Okay, so I've got another 3 rows to sew together also. So what I'm going to do is quilt this particular row here, these 3 collective rows together as my quilt as you go. All right, so ideally I am quilting it individually and then joining both of the rows together to make my whole quilt as you go. So I have laid my backing fabric and my top, and my batting is underneath. My batting is underneath so that I can just measure. Ideally I will have the same width and length of batting as my backing fabric. All right, what I have done is incorporated the space on top for my borders. So what I'm going to do is just simply cut because my batting here is on the fold, and I'm just going to cut what I need, and I will have essentially 2 pieces of batting for my quilt already. And I am going to quilt it all together as a quilt as you go. So hopefully you understand what I'm referring to now. When I do a quilt as you go, I do not quilt all of the blocks onto the batting. It depends on what it is, all right, or the size of it. So something as this is a small quilt, what I tend to do is sew the rows together, and then I will lay out the batting or the 3 layers and then quilt it as 2 halves or 3 halves, depending really. If it's a big one or a really queen size quilt, I will probably do 2 rows. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. But in this case, because it's mainly a lap size quilt and I'm adding probably about a 4-inch border, I'm adding a 2.5-inch border on the side and a 4-inch border at the top, so I give myself a rectangular quilt. This maze quilt is going to be quilted as a 3-row quilt as you go. All right, so then I'm just going to cut up here, again incorporating my batting size, and then what I'm going to do is just glue based, spray based, and then start my quilting. And I'm just going to doodle all over it. Right, so I'm going to get started on that now. Roll this up and put it all together. guys, so went ahead now and completed this quilt. The quilt is called a Christmas Peppermint Candy Cane quilt, and as you can see, I've used those sort of Christmas red and white colors. The red I had in my stash for a very long time, and as you know, I told you I absolutely hated it. Now, one of the things I love about this pattern from the tube effect, or from the tube that we made, I love the maze that is given on the print of the fabric for the quilt pattern. It looks really lovely and very modern, so I would say it's a very modern quilt. It doesn't show the traditional patterns that you will get when you make a quilt. It just gives you something completely different, and so I really love that about it. It wasn't where I was going with this, to be honest, but this is what the quilt gave me and I went along with it. I use a meandering all over pattern for this. I'm going to try and go in as slowly as I possibly can, and I use white and cotton thread to do the meandering. It has really surprised me, this quilt. I'll be very honest about that. I was really surprised. It is a quilt as you go, and I've done it in 1, 2, 3 rows, stitch it onto the batting and then the other, and then bring the whole thing together. On the borders, here I use a candy cane print. I also did the same candy cane here, but a very different print. On the back, I use the same print here, and I use white for the meander, and you can actually see those meandering shapes there a lot more quickly. I use a green binding, and I felt that really complemented the tonality of the quilt in terms of using the same green there, and give a pop of color right towards the end to finish off the quilt. But overall, it's a beautiful lap size. It didn't take long to make. It took probably about a day and a half, if I have to be totally honest. It could possibly take 2 days depending on your time schedule, but it's beautiful. It's really simple lap size quilt, and it has really come together nicely. It was a joy to quilt using the meandering effect on this modern maze quilt. What I did like as well is that it looks really tricky. To someone who didn't see me make this quilt, they will think it took me ages to figure out this maze and pattern that I have going on here. But as you know, because you saw me make it, all I just did was made a tube. And if you don't remember where the block is, that's the block there. That's another block right there. But it's just the layout that gives you this beautiful effect. And remember, this is the one I chose. You can get a lot more. You can just do arrows up and down. You can do arrows going one way and arrows coming the other, or this way. It's really down to you, but it's beautiful. I love the peppermint colors. It really brings it in for Christmas, using it in this way. The red is a Christmas fabric. And when I did buy it, I didn't like it because it was for another quilt, and I didn't like the red in it. But looking at it in this manner has really made it pop really nicely with this pattern. Sometimes you just gotta find the right fabric for the right pattern, and I think this one does it really nicely. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial and watching me actually make this quilt. Please do visit my website if you would like to get a pattern for this and enjoy making it. As I said, it didn't take long at all. It's a beautiful lap size, and it has really come together really nicely. One thing I would mention though is that where you kind of even see where this quilt was joined together, and which is what I love about using my quilt as you go, especially when you use it all over print, because then the eyes don't find it normally, isn't it? So well done guys for watching this video all the way through. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give me a like, definitely a thumbs up, give me some feedback, let me know what you actually think about the quilt. I do personally feel it's a beautiful quilt, and it will bring someone some joy. It would actually be beautiful as a wall hanging actually, and I'm thinking of putting it on the wall, but I really have no use for it at the moment. So it's very likely it's going to be folded, or I may have a Christmas giveaway and give it to somebody. But I absolutely love it, this modern peppermint Christmas quilt. Absolutely beautiful, isn't it? So let me know if there's something you can actually make, and you can use any colors. If you don't want to make it into a Christmas quilt, you can just make it into a modern maze quilt. Give it to a young man, so a child who has a car, and you can spend the whole time driving their cars all the way around. Imagine if you do children's pattern and you create roads where the white is. Beautiful. Just do black and white or a child print, and they will spend hours playing on this, driving with their cars. And I just thought it's really, really beautiful. It gives for lots of imagination, but it's down to you and how you use it. So I hope I've given you some ideas on how you can actually use this actual pattern. So bye for now, guys. Happy quilting. Love you lots, and I'll see you in the next one.